And we'll continue with our Bible study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So we're on chapter 17 in Joshua, page 98 in our Sonsino edition, and page 75 in Alter's Ancient Israel. So this is a long chapter. Well, 18 sentences, longer than chapter 16 that we read last week. So we'll go through it. Let me go through it verse by verse in Hebrew and in English, and we'll look at the commentary on it after I finish the chapter. Vayehi hagoral lemate Menashe. Oh, the context again is allotting the land of Israel to the different tribes, right? And we read about Judah. No, about Ephraim last week. Vayhi hagoral lemate Menashe, kihu bechor Yosef, lemachir bechor Menashe, avi hagilad, kihu haya ish milchama, vayhi lo hagilad v'habashan. So this was the portion for the tribe of Menashe, because he is the oldest, the firstborn of Joseph, to Machir. So the allotment of Menashe goes to Machir, the oldest born of Menashe, who is the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war. And for him was, he took the Gilad and the Bashan. So remember, half the tribe of Menashe was on the other side of the Jordan River, right? Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Menashe. So the Gilad and the Bashan are on the other side. Okay, so not in the land of Israel proper, but on the other side. Vayehi livnei Menashe hanotarim lamishbechotam, livnei Aviezer, v'livnei Chelek, v'livnei Asriel, v'livnei Shechem, v'livnei Chefer, v'livnei Shemidah, Ele b'nei Menashe ben Yosef hazecharim lamishbechotam. And the rest of the sons of Menashe, according to their families, are the sons of Aviezer, the sons of Chelek, or the children of Asriel, the children of Shechem, the children of Chefer, the children of... Yes?
Is Shechem the one with the Dinah story?
No.
Good.
No. Yes, the pronunciation is different. The emphasis on the syllable is different. Okay, here it's Shechem, and that story it's Shechem. Okay, so it's a little bit different. This is so the children of Shechem, the children of Chefer, children of Shemidah. These are the children of Menashe, son of Joseph, the males according to their families. Ve'litz Salafachad ben Chefer ben Gilad ben Machir ben Menashe lo hayu lo banim ki im banot ve'ele shemot benotav Machla v'Noah Chagla Milka v'Tirza. And to Tzalafchad, the son of Chefer, the son of Gilad, the son of Machir, the son of Menashe, that he did not have sons, but rather daughters. And these are the names of his daughters, Machla and Noah and Chagla and Milka and Tirza, right? So here Joshua is reminding us of the incident in the book of Numbers in the Torah, in which the 5 daughters of Tzalafchad approach Moses, who said, you know, the land of Israel is going to be a portion to all the tribes, handed down from father to son. And so the 5 daughters say, hey, we don't have brothers. It's not fair that our father wouldn't have a portion in the land of Israel. So then Moses consults God, and God says they speak correctly and they can have a portion. I think the rule was that they had to marry their cousins, people from Menashe. They could not, if they want to keep their father's portion, they have to marry fellow Manashites. Okay, so 4, Vatikravna lifnei Elazar HaKohen v'lifnei Yehoshua bin Nun v'lifnei Hanasiim lemor Adonai tzivat Moshe latet lanu nachala betoch achenu vayitein lahem el pi Adonai nachala betoch achei avihen. So the daughters, so they approached Moses in the Torah, and now they're approaching Joshua. They approached, these 5 daughters approached Eleazar the Kohen and Joshua son of Nun, and before the magistrates, the presidents, the chiefs of the tribes, saying, God commanded Moses to give us the inheritance amidst our brothers, that is our extended family, and so they gave them, that is Eleazar, Joshua, and the Nesiim, the chiefs, gave them, according to the word of God, an inheritance amidst the brothers of their father.
Are they basically just reminding Joshua and the priests of this
Yes.
story?
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't they
Before
know
it's
that
too late.
story?
What's that?
Wouldn't they know that story?
Well, I think the point is for the editor of the book of Joshua to highlight that what happened in Joshua is a fulfillment of what was told in the Torah. So who knows how it happened and whether it did happen in this way. But I think the purpose of the biblical editor of Joshua is to tell the reader, hey, we didn't forget what happened in the Torah. You, reader, shouldn't forget what happened in the Torah either. Okay? Verse 5, Vayiplu chavlei Menashe asara levad me'eretz hagilad v'habashan asher me'ever le'Yarden. So there were 10 parts of that went to Menashe, that fell to Menashe. So the allotment of the land, 10 parts, went to Menashe, aside from the land of Gilead and Bashan, which are on the other side of the Jordan. 6, Ki benot Menashe nachalu nachala betoch banav, ve'eretz hagilad hayata livnei Menashe hanotarim. And so the daughters of Menashe inherited their portion from among his sons, and the land of Gilead belonged to, or went to, the rest of the children of Menashe. 7, Vayehi gevul Menashe me asher hamich metat asher al pnei Shechem. See, here it's Shechem, not Shechem. Right? So you have to see where the cantillation mark is under the word. And in our prayer books, you see where the vertical line is next to the vowel. That vertical line, if there is no vertical line next to a vowel in a word, then the default is that the last syllable is the one pronounced. If there is a vertical line, then that means it's not the last syllable, and then it's that particular syllable. Whereas cantillation marks will go where whatever syllable needs to be pronounced. So it's there for grammatical purposes. So the difference between, there's a slight difference in vowels. If you look at how Shechem is pronounced in the third line on 99, where the cantillation mark is above the shin, you have the 3-dot vowel under the shin there. Here in verse 7 for Shechem, you have the 2-dot vowel under the shin. Okay, so it's a slight difference, but it's a significant difference grammatically. I can't tell you, I can't explain the difference to you. I only know the result of where the cantillation mark is to know that it's grammatically a different word. Okay. Vayhi gevul Menashe me asher hamich metat asher al pnei Shechem V'halach hagavul el hayamin el yoshvei ein tapuach. So the boundary of Menashe is from Asher in Michmetat, which is near Shechem, and the boundary continued to the right to the inhabitants of Ein Tapuach. 8. Limenashe, go ahead. Somebody have a question? No. Limenashe hayata eretz Tapuach, ve'Tapuach el gevul Menashe livnei Ephraim. And Menashe had the land of Tapuach, but Tapuach on the border of Menashe went to Ephraim. So the town belonged to Ephraim, but the environs belonged to Menashe. 9. V'yarad hagavul nachal Kana negba lanachal arim lanachal arim ha'ele leEphraim betoch arei Menashe ugavul Menashe mitzafon lanachal v'yehi totzaotav hayama. So the boundary went down to the brook of Kana, southward of the brook. These cities of Ephraim, amongst the cities of Menashe, right? So the cities of Menashe and Ephraim were kind of intermingled. And the boundary of Menashe from the north of that brook, and it continued to the sea. 10. Negba leEphraim v'tzafona leMenashe v'yehi hayam gevulo uve'asher yifgeun mitzafon uve'yisachar mimizrach.
But Jonah,
Go ahead.
these cities, villages that they're taking over, they're already inhabited by Canaanites?
No, we were told in a previous chapter that Joshua and the people of Israel were able to drive out the Canaanites from a lot of these places. Some places they couldn't, so there were still Canaanites around. So these are the empty, like the ghost town villages. Yeah. So 10. Southward for Ephraim, that is, southward of the brook was Ephraim, and northward was Menashe, and the sea was the boundary, and they touch upon the territory of Asher in the north, and the territory of Yisachar in the east. 11. Vayehi leMenashe b'Yisachar uva Asher Beit Sha'an uvenoteha v'Yivlaam uvenoteha v'et Yoshvei Dor uvenoteha v'Yoshvei Ein Dor uvenoteha v'Yoshvei Ta'anach uvenoteha v'Yoshvei Megiddo uvenoteha Shloshet Hanafet. So Menashe had in Issachar and Asher Beit Sha'an. So the town of Beit Sha'an belonged to Menashe, even though it looked like Beit Sha'an is in the territory of Issachar or Asher. So it got Beit Sha'an and its towns, and Yivlaam and its towns, and the inhabitants of Dor and the inhabitants and its towns, and the inhabitants of Ein Dor and its towns, and the inhabitants of Ta'anach and its towns, and the inhabitants of Megiddo and its towns, even the three regions, whatever that means. We'll see in the commentary.
We know, are these towns still?
Megiddo, we know
That
about.
I knew. That's why I thought of.
Yeah, the other, Beit Sha'an, definitely. Beit Sha'an had a Roman name. I don't remember what it is, but there's extensive archaeological discoveries there. There's a huge amphitheater there. I haven't been to that. I've driven through Beit Sha'an. Haven't stopped to see the ruins there because it was summertime when I was there, and Beit Sha'an is below sea level on the way to the Sea of Galilee, and it's incredibly hot. So I haven't seen it. Go ahead.
Are these,
Fantastic, though, to see it.
Mhm.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Bess?
Are these the names? Well, some of them are Hebrew, but
I don't know. I can't tell you if they're Hebrew.
okay.
I don't know. They seem Hebrew because they're used today in Hebrew. But that doesn't mean that they're originally Hebrew.
Gotcha.
Okay. 12. V'lo yachlu b'nei Menashe lohorish et ha'arim ha'ele va'yoel ha'kna'ani lashevet ba'aretz hazot. So the children of Menashe were not able to wipe out these cities, right? Those cities that still had inhabitants in them, they were not able to wipe out those cities. And the Canaanites were resolved to dwell in this land, right? They put up a fight and they did not want to leave. 13, Vayihi ki chazku b'nei Yisrael, vayitnu et Kanaani lamas v'horesh lo horishu. So when the children of Israel got stronger, they put the Canaanites to tax or to task work, but they were not able to drive them out. All right, so this is just another example. The book of Joshua has already told us this. They were just not able to wipe out the Canaanites in certain parts of the land of Israel. That was our downfall. That was our spiritual downfall that would lead 600 years after this, 500 years after this, to being exiled to the Assyrians, and 200 years after that to the Babylonians. Now, they were able to live that long, kind of assimilating Canaanite culture, right? And the prophets would continue to rail against the Israelites about how they were being influenced by idolatry, but Israel still managed to exist as a nation until they didn't anymore. So the religious explanation for why the Assyrians were able to conquer Israel and the religious explanation for why the Babylonians were able to conquer Israel was because Israel wasn't strong spiritually. Now, clearly, Israel would have not been able, even if they were strong. Now, I shouldn't say this. The Bible presents miracles that happen on behalf of Israel, like the book of Joshua does, that God was with the Israelites, enabling them to conquer the land of Israel. Now, it's fascinating that the book does not present it as if God helped them totally eradicate Israel of the Canaanite population. So that's a bigger religious question. Why, if God is fighting for them and allowing them to have a quick victory, why isn't it 100% victory? Why is it only a 90% victory? So that we can't answer. Though the rest of the Bible explains, if you were only able to stick with God and not be influenced by idolatry, then you would have not been subdued by the Assyrians, and you would not have been subdued by the Babylonians. But we know militarily and strategically that that's not the case. They would have still been defeated by the Assyrians and the Babylonians, but religiously for the Bible, the reason is God was not with them because they strayed.
Jonah, the Babylonian Empire, of course, is modern day Iraq. The Assyrian Empire, what is the correlation to the now? Where would that be?
Syria.
Syria? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Syria, northern Iraq, because like the city of Nineveh is there. And I think it's in southwestern Syria, or maybe it's northern Iraq. I don't know. Or maybe it's in that region called Kurdistan. I don't remember exactly, but it's out there. It's like north of Iran, north of Iraq, in what is Syria today.
Syria, okay.
Right. Yenemsveld.
Not quite. It was a major empire, and it's along the Silk Route. however ancient the Silk Route is. It was, you control transportation routes, you get wealthy. So yeah, it wasn't Yenemsveld. There are major cities within the Assyrian Empire, and it stretched from Turkey, um, what is today Turkey, like eastern Turkey, and northern and eastern Syria, um, into, I guess where Georgia and Armenia and Uzbekistan, all that area there is all part of the Assyrian Empire.
So another question. I know in sort of the Western world, the Gilgamesh story and that sort of predates our stories biblically.
Yeah.
And I guess in Eastern culture, are there, like in India, China, Japan, are there stories that are dated older than ours? And if there are, I'm just kind of curious, like, is this the first, is our story the first story about conquering lands and driving
Oh,
out?
no. Certainly not. The Sumerian stories that we have found on cuneiform tablets predate the Bible by 500 years, supposedly. If we can date Abraham to like 1600 BCE, something like that, the Sumerian stories are a few hundred years older than that. The Chinese stories, I don't know enough about Chinese history to know how far back those legends go, and when was the first Chinese emperor. I don't know. You can Google it. I think, and Indian culture, I really don't know how far back those myths and epics go either.
And in the Sumerian narratives, are they talking about conquering other nations and
I believe so.
okay.
Sure. And you got Egypt also. Egypt talks about the Egyptian, so those hieroglyphics, those stories they predate the Bible also. So there were pharaohs who definitely predated the Bible. So those the stories of the pharaohs conquering other people certainly predate us too.
The first united China empire was 200-220 BC.
United.
After,
Okay, so there were separate regions. So how far back that goes, I really don't know.
Me neither.
It is interesting. There are people who obviously study this, like the origins of humanity and where was the first human, and I'm not sure it's clear anymore that the first human was in Africa. Not sure. Maybe the first human was in China. I don't know enough about my anthropological history to say that for sure. But it is fascinating how civilizations develop, and how hunters develop a community and a language, and then stories. It's just fascinating, that process. Okay.
When the Israelites put the Canaanites to task, does that mean they made them slaves?
Yes. 14. Vaidabru b'nei Yosef et Yehoshua lemor, Madua natata li nachala goral achad v'chevel achad v'ani amrav ad asher ad ko berachani Adonai. So the children of Joseph said to Joshua, "Why have you given me only one portion and one part for inheritance, seeing that we are such a great people? As the English says, for as much as the Lord has blessed me thus." Right? God has blessed us to be large. Why have you given us only this size portion? 15. Vayomer alehem Yehoshua, im amrav ata alei lecha hayara uve Ve'reita lecha sham be'eretz haprizi v'harefaim ki atz lecha har Ephraim. So there's some Hebrew, the word atz there. I'm not familiar with that word. So Joshua said to them, if you are such a great people, such a great community, then go up to the forest and and cut down their land of the Perizzites and the Rephaim, because the hill country of Ephraim is too narrow for you. Atz means narrow. So go cut down the forest. All right, so pre-climate change awareness and rainforest clearing, cut down the forest of Israel to make yourself more land. 16, Vayomru b'nei Yosef, lo yimatzei lanu hahar, v'rechev barzel b'chol ha'kanani, hayoshev be'eretz ha'emek, la'asher b'veit sha'an uvnoteha, v'la'asher be'emek Yisrael. And the children of Joseph said, the hill country will not be enough for us. And all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both they who are in Beit Shan and its towns, and they who are in the valley of Jezreel. 17, Vayomer Yehoshua el Beit Yosef, le'Ephraim ve'limnashe le'mor, Am Rav Ata, ve'koach gadolach, lo yeh lecha goral echad. 18, I'll continue. Ki har yelach ya'arhu uvereto v'hayalacha totzaotav ki torish et ha'kanani ki rechev barzelo ki chazak hu. So Joshua said to the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, you are a great people, you have great power, you will not have one portion, because for though it is a forest, and you shall cut it down, and the goings out thereof shall be yours, for you shall drive out the Canaanite, though they have chariots of iron, and though they may be strong. So in other words, Joshua says to them, don't worry about the chariots of the Canaanites. You're a great people, and you'll be able to drive them out.
Well, I'm a little confused with the word. They say, it says you have only one lot, or we have only one lot, but it's one lot to each.
One for Ephraim, one for Manasseh. Manasseh's the one doing the complaining, mainly. The lot of Manasseh. And Manasseh's complaining that they're a big community, and that's this land that's allotted to them is just not going to be big enough. So Joshua says, okay, cut down the forest. But they're worried that the Canaanites are right there at the other end of the forest. And Joshua says, don't worry. You're stronger than them. You'll be able to get rid of them. Okay, let's look at the commentary here. Back to page 98 on the bottom. Machir, the firstborn of Menashe. A comparison with Numbers 26, verse 29 reveals an apparent discrepancy between that passage and verses 1 and following, meaning here in Joshua. There, Machir is the son of Menashe. See also Genesis 1:23. And Aviezer, etc., are described as the sons of Gilead. So here it's explained a little bit differently. The explanation is that the phrase children of Menashe signifies, as often in Hebrew, his offspring, not necessarily of the first generation. So, right, so there is a Machir in the Torah that when the 2.5 tribes were given the land on the eastern side of the Jordan, that's where we're reminded of, or we're told who the leader of Menashe is, that it's this Machir. So there's a slight difference in figuring out who that Machir is. If it's the same Machir, they have different parentage. So this is how the commentary is reconciling the different parentage. Okay. So it goes on, the father of Gilead, literally the father of the of the Gilead, or 99, but in verse 3, where the son as an individual is named, the definite article is omitted. It's therefore probable that the clan of Gilead is intended, and the rest of the verse should be translated because it was warlike, therefore it had Gilead and Bashan. This interpretation is borne out by Deuteronomy 3, where it's related that Yair, the son of Menashe, captured Bashan, and Gilead was assigned to Machir, that is, clans and not individuals, are to be understood. Aviezer in Numbers 26:30, the form of the name is Ezer. Verse 3, see Numbers 26:33 and 27:1 and following. For the Lord commanded Moses, see Numbers 27:6. This is about the daughters of Tzlafchad. Our brethren, that is, our father's brothers, the brethren of our father, that is, they were to receive their father's share among his brothers. 10 parts, that is, 6 for 6 fathers' houses enumerated above, and 4 for the daughters of Tzlafchad, their father's share with those who left Egypt, his share with his brothers in the property of Hefer, their father's extra share as a firstborn, and the share of their father's brother who died childless.
I'm sorry, it says 4 for the daughters, for the 4 daughters?
And this is how their portions were divided amongst the 5 of them. So there are 10 portions that were given to Menashe. So the commentary is explaining how the 10 was divided. There are 6 going to the names that were listed above, and then 4 more were divided this way among the daughters of Tzlafchad and the people they married. So these are the names of the families of Menashe. There are 6 men names and 5 girl names. The 5 girl names get 4 portions, according to the commentary.
It's not what it says in my version, that's why it's.
What do you mean it's not what it says in your version?
Doesn't say the 4
Mine too, it
daughters.
has 5 part to the 5 clans enumerated in verse 2 and 5 for the 5 daughters. Bess and I probably have the same edition.
Yes, yes.
The older edition? That's interesting.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying it is interesting.
4
daughters or 5 daughters. We see.
Okay, so the updated commentary made it based on Rashi, as opposed to this old one that just left it the way it is, 5 and 5. So the new one adds the traditional medieval commentary to it. So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, glad you pointed that out. The 6 on page 100. The rest of the sons of Menashe, presumably Peresh and Sheresh, named in 1 Chronicles 7 as the sons of Ma'akah, the wife of Machir. Okay, now 7, the border, the southwest frontier, from Asher, that is, beginning at the end of Asher's boundary in the northwest. Some authorities, however, hold that Asher here is not the tribe, but a city east of Shechem belonging to Menashe. Michmetat in the southeast, the 2 extremities of the boundary are accordingly defined. The right hand, that is southward, Ein Tapuach, the well of Yasuf, a village south of Shechem. The land of Tapuach, the district adjacent to the village. The brook of Kanah, see chapter 16. Cities which belong to Ephraim, see chapter 16. To Asher on the north, etc. This was the northern boundary. Its exact course and the towns which marked it are not specified, being described in detail in the boundaries of Issachar and Asher. 101, Beit Sha'an, literally house of rest. The name probably indicates that it was a halting place for caravans. It was an important Canaanite city close to the modern Beisan in the Jordan Valley, about 12 miles south of the Sea of Galilee and 4 miles west of the Jordan. Just 4 miles west. This is a different Beit Sha'an then, because the Beit Sha'an that I know is on 4 miles west of the Jordan. Sorry, that could be the same one. The Philistines fastened the dead body of Saul to its walls. In later times, it was named Scythopolis by the successors of Alexander the Great. It was famed for the sweetness of its fruits. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, if the Garden of Eden is in the land of Israel, Beit Shan is the entrance there too. Okay. Its towns, literally its daughters, that is the satellite towns. Iblaam, now called Bilaame, north of Nablus. Here, Achaziah was mortally wounded when fleeing from Yehu. The inhabitants of Dor. The inhabitants are mentioned because they remained in possession, as the next verse states. Dor, identical with the Dor in chapter 11 in the territory of Asher, though the Hebrew spelling differs. The two cities mentioned here were in the territory of Yisachar. Ein Dor, south of Mount Tabor, now Ein Dor. It was here that Saul inquired of the spirit of Samuel raised by the witch. Ta'anach Megiddo, see on chapter 12. The three regions, or the triple region, namely of Ein Dor, Ta'anach, and Megiddo, with their environs, which have common boundaries. See also on chapter 11. Verse 12, repeated in Judges 1. 13, to task work, see chapter 16:10. 14, the children of Joseph, the representatives of the tribe of Manasseh. Page 102, one lot. In chapter 16, the lot is singular. And one part yeah, go ahead. You muted, Barry. Barry, you muted yourself.
Oh, FYI, that Best probably has this too, but
Yeah.
14 in my version says the children of Joseph, representatives of the tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh, both.
Okay, again, I don't know why the updated one.
So they're going with the Rashi.
This one is, yes, this one was according to Rashi, yeah. And one part, that is one lot which consists of only one part. Though divided into two for Ephraim and Manasseh, the portion was really only one and insufficient. A great people. At the second census of the Israelites in the plains of Moab, shortly before they crossed into Canaan, the numbers of Ephraim and Manasseh were 32,500 and 52,700 respectively. So that's what, 85,200. So that's a lot of people. For as much as the Lord has blessed me thus, in the first census, Manasseh numbered 32,200, whereas in the second census, they numbered 52,700. Only the tribe of Manasseh had grounds for such a complaint because of their sharp increase. The tribe of Ephraim, however, experienced a decrease from 45 to 32,500.
That's different than what we have, but
Yeah, go ahead.
this is just men or people?
It's men of fighting age.
That's what I thought. Okay, so it's a lot of people.
Yes. The forest, which then covered a considerable portion of the northwest of the mountain of Ephraim. The Perizzites, the Rephaim, see on chapter 3. The hill country of Ephraim, the mountain district which stretches from the valley of Jezreel to the hill country of Judah. The name is given here in anticipation. The Canaanites, a generic term including the Perizzites and the Rephaim just mentioned. Chariots of iron, war chariots plated with iron. Thou art a great people. Joshua admits the justice of their original plea and gives them assurance of their ultimate triumph over the mighty inhabitants. And 18, the goings out thereof, that is to its furthest extent. Kimchi, this might be different from the older commentary. Kimchi explains the dialogue between Joshua and the children of Joseph in the following manner. The mountain belonged to Ephraim, while the valley belonged to Manasseh. Joshua advised the tribe of Manasseh to occupy Mount Ephraim by clearing the forests and driving out the Perizzites and the Rephaim therefrom. The Ephraimites would surely agree to this plan. Upon this, the tribe of Manasseh rejoined, the hill country will not be enough for us, and all the Canaanites that dwell in the valley have chariots of iron. Therefore, the valley that we need is impregnable. Thereupon Joshua requested of the children of Ephraim to join the children of Manasseh in their battle against the Canaanites.
I like that better than what we have.
Yeah.
Right, Barry? Oh, Barry's muted.
Okay.
You have Ehrlich giving his
Yeah.
explanation.
Yeah, that's the right. Right. Yeah, so that's interesting. The older one quotes biblical scholars, the newer one quotes the medieval commentary. All right, let's look at ancient Israel. There's not much commentary on this from chapter 17, beginning on page 75. For he was Joseph's firstborn, that is Machir. Hence the clan of Machir is allotted the choice region of Gilead and Bashan. But the further notation about Machir as a man of war suggests that it was the military prowess of the clan that enabled it to take hold of this territory. And Selafchad did not have sons but daughters. This report of the inheritance of the daughters of Selafchad picks up the story that appears in Numbers 27, echoing some of its language. Kinsman, the Hebrew achim here, has to have its extended sense. It cannot mean brothers, because these 5 women have no brothers. The shares fell out. The verb here reflects the use of a lottery or some kind of aleatory device. But the term for shares, chavalim, also means ropes and has the sense of share or portion of land because ropes were used to measure out the land. South of Ephraim, this phrase is confusing because the text is describing the boundaries of Ephraim. Take hold of these towns. The Hebrew verb means dispossess. Either a logical object such as inhabitants has dropped out of the text, or the verb is used here in the sense it has in a different conjugation, yarash instead of horish, to take hold of. Why did you give me? It's fairly common in biblical dialogue assigned to collective speakers to use the first person singular. And until now, the Hebrew wording is obscure and the text may be corrupt. Go up to the forest and clear it. There is archaeological evidence that a good deal of deforestation took place in this period in the high country, with the trees replaced by terraced agriculture. The land of the Perizzite and the Rephaim, this geographical designation is obscure and may reflect a scribal error. There are iron chariots among all the Canaanites. These armored vehicles, readily deployed in the valleys, but not in mountainous regions, give a military advantage to the Canaanites over the Israelites, who by and large conducted warfare in guerrilla style. The characterization of iron, however, may be an exaggeration because the archaeological evidence indicates the Canaanite chariots were primarily built of wood. Thus, the members of the Joseph tribes fear that they will not be able to overcome the Canaanites in the flatlands. You are a numerous people and you have great power. Joshua seizes on the very phrase the Josephites have used to claim more territory and employs it in a double sense. As a numerous people, you deserve more than a single portion, and as a numerous people, you have the power to conquer the Canaanites. Okay, it's 10:17. I have other things to do to get ready for the holiday. So we'll stop here for today. We'll continue next Friday. And wishes for a very happy and a healthy new year. Emphasis on the healthy. And may it be a sweet one as well. Take care, everybody.
And a good Shabbos.
And to you too, yes.